In Malcolm X's final days, it was rumored that he had a change of mind about his thoughts on who was solely behind a plot to murder him. Initially, his adversaries appeared to only be Elijah Muhammad and his Nation of Islam. It was also purported that he said his demise would come exclusively from a hidden hand in Washington, D.C. Under a cloud of distress and time working against him, it was humanly impossible for Malcolm to clearly differentiate that the two aforementioned entities and possibly others would merge as one to assassinate him. Proof of which was Malcolm's request and belief that the FBI itself would come to a favorable decision on his behalf in the investigation of the bombing of his home. This naive belief was just as far off as believing the Nation of Islam lost interest in murdering him. The old adage, where there's smoke there's fire, leaves very little doubt that all parties accused indeed were at the same location striking matches. The visual evidence in this film illustrates that Malcolm's political assassination was likely to have resulted from an unspecified conspiracy. The person who fired the first two deadly shots at Malcolm from a sawed-off shotgun was described as a powerfully built, dark-complexioned black man with a beard, wearing a dark overcoat with a folded newspaper in the left pocket of his coat. After the person with the 12-gauge sawed-off shotgun fired the first two deadly shots at Malcolm, two other men stood up and fired 9mm and .45 caliber handguns into Malcolm's body. The blast from the shotgun had shredded Malcolm's aorta, heart, and punctured both lungs. Wounds from the handguns were projected into various areas of Malcolm's entire body. The man with the red arrow pointing at him is the man who fired the .45 caliber handgun at Malcolm. A blue arrow points to one of Malcolm's followers grasping onto the shooter to prevent his escape. Unable to escape due to a gunshot to his leg, the shooter, who is a follower of Elijah Muhammad, is placed under arrest. He was identified as Talmadge Hayer. Elijah Muhammad and all Nation of Islam officials denied knowing Hayer and openly lied about his membership in their organization. The captured shooter Hayer was indeed a member of the Nation of Islam under direct command of Lieutenant Linwood X and Minister James 3X of New Jersey's Mosque No. 25. On the day of the shooting, Minister Lewis X of the Boston Mosque had suddenly visited the New Jersey Mosque. Minister Lewis X was connected to the three main mosques who planned Malcolm's demise. The captured shooter Hayer, for many years, denied being a follower of Elijah Muhammad. Then in 1977, he finally admitted that he was a Muslim all along, and he even named his accomplices in the murder. At the time of the murder, the Journal American newspaper knew that the shooters of Malcolm were all Muslims who rehearsed the killing. Like all sloppily planned murders, through their own newspaper, Muhammad Speaks, the Muslims leave a trail pointing directly at their involvement in Malcolm's murder by foolishly placing ads in their newspaper showing that they held many events at the crime scene, the Autobomb Ballroom. The events were all sponsored by Mosque No. 7. On the day of the assassination, the first noticeable odd thing was the lack of police presence outside the ballroom, yet the police materialized immediately after the shooting. Inside the ballroom, uniformed police were hidden in various rooms adjacent to the main ballroom. Among many people present was Malcolm's wife Betty Shabazz and her 4 small children. After Malcolm was introduced, the killers rose from their seats near the front of the stage and brandished weapons and began pointing and firing at Malcolm. The shooters then ran outside the ballroom to escape. Under the ballroom's marquee, a violent commotion was underway that involved the police, Malcolm's followers, and at least 2 of the assassins. one of which was Talmadge Hayer, who had been wounded in the leg, and the shotgunner with the folded newspaper in his coat pocket, all engaged in a tug-of-war to save one man's life. One of Malcolm's followers holds on to a folded wooden chair to strike Hayer if he escapes. This man is unaware that the man with the newspaper in his pocket is the actual shotgun assassin. For many years, the live footage captured outside the ballroom was never critically examined until recently. To the average viewer, it was assumed that the man with the newspaper in his pocket was one of Malcolm's men trying to attack the captured man being held between the many police officers. Just like Lee Harvey Oswald in the JFK assassination, patsies were in place to take the blame. Nation of Islam members Thomas 15X Johnson and Norman 3X Butler offered unbelievable alibis about their whereabouts the day of Malcolm's murder. Butler seemed to be the only man in the Nation of Islam who wore his stingy brim hat with it tilted back on his forehead. And though the person's back is turned from the camera in this crime scene footage, the person with the yellow arrow pointing at them resembles Norman 3X Butler. Observe the man with the white arrow pointing at him attacking one of Malcolm's followers under the blue arrow. The man under the white arrow has an opportunity to attack the man above the red arrow, but doesn't. A police officer at the green arrow attacks Malcolm's follower. One of Malcolm's followers at the yellow arrow holds a chair, ready to strike. Malcolm's follower, below the blue arrow, that is subdued by police, has suddenly realized that the man with the newspaper in his pocket is not a friendly ally and is allowed to escape after retrieving something off of his cohort. He smiles and tucks something inside his coat and calmly walks away. A police officer named Arnold Arnoff at the orange arrow appears not to subdue the shotgunner, but only shoves him away. Malcolm's follower under the blue arrow suspects a conspiracy is underway. For the power structure, the choice was simple. Let an emerging selfless leader force its hand to address the legitimate concerns of millions of African Americans, or let a harmless organization who imagined itself to be an actual nation continue to be non-threatening and self-destructive.
What condition was he in on arrival?
He was dead on arrival, and they took him into the third floor emergency room, and several doctors tried to revive him for about 15 minutes, and there was no response. I mean, he was pronounced dead at 3:30.
Has the body been identified?
When it was brought in, we didn't get a positive identification. We admitted the patient as John Doe.
Never being held accountable for his crime against Malcolm and the global black community. Decades later, the man who took Malcolm's life opened up a gymnasium and became a wealthy businessman. Who said you can't get away with murder?
Okay, so we all agree that both of these brothers were powerful black men. Both of these brothers was loved by the black community, and they both had detractors, and they both had people that was for them, you know, and against them. But pay attention, look at what happened. Now, you had Dr. King, who basically helped the white people infiltrate us. And you had Malcolm X, who basically wanted separation. So who helped white people? It was Dr. King. So Dr. King gets a national holiday. Dr. King gets a big giant statue or monument down in Washington because Dr. King helped them. Now, Malcolm X doesn't have those things, and it's because he did not help them. It's just that simple. Now, I know that's probably going to piss a lot of people off what I'm saying, but like I said, to Dr. King's credit, I think he figured it out, and that's why he was killed. So I'm not going to sit here and say he was Uncle Tom and he was a traitor and this and that. I think he kind of realize what was going on. And maybe he told Jesse. Maybe he said something to somebody and they said it to Jesse, but I think he knew he was going to get killed. And I think he was preparing himself for that, but he couldn't just come out and say, hey, because, you know, he aided in the infiltration. He aided in letting the white people into the black community and doing what they have been doing. And like I was saying, if you watch the first video, what the Bole is an organization that basically controls the black neighborhood. They guard the secrets of the white people who's running everything. And Dr. King was definitely a member of it. And when you start doing some research into the Bole and its members, you'll see that Al Sharpton is a member, Jesse Jackson is a member. Most of these black leaders, all these black leaders, if you've seen them on TV, if they are a black leader that's on TV, that's getting some kind of news coverage, they are a part of the Bole. I guarantee you that. But you really have to pay attention to what happened once they infiltrated, once the whole integration thing started and the black people started really going into the white stores. And it's like, yeah, sure, they were going into white stores and buying things that they needed, whatever like that. But that money was going back into the white community. That money was going back into helping white people, and it was taken away from black people. It wasn't on white people going to black stores. So their money wasn't helping the black community, but you had all these black people going to these white stores because they had more variety, more products or whatever, and that money was going back into their communities, helping their people. So today we have all these Fortune 500 companies that have flourished and that have become major successes off of black dollars, and it's still happening today because now we don't have any stores. Our stores are basically done. We have very little businesses, you know, here in America. So we're not becoming Fortune 500 companies. We're not on the cover of Forbes magazine unless you are, you know, a Jay-Z or, you know, somebody like Metu who just got a, you know, $3 billion deal. But they are part of the problem, not the solution, because they're not helping the black community. They're not trying to tell you what I'm telling you because they are part of that system. So you got to really look at what happened back then. And yeah, we go to school and we learn about the civil rights movement and they tell us everything about, you know, Dr. King was this and, you know, this happened to black people and, you know, the sick and the dogs and the hoses and all this and that. But they don't tell you about how it hurt us economically. And the economic part of it is the worst part of it, because that scarred us for, you know, till now. We're still feeling the effects of it. So yeah, Dr. King basically got his wish, and they started letting black people into these white stores and white companies, and the schools integrated and all that. And you know, you got sellouts like Al Sharpton talk about something, we need to advance the dream and this and that, all over MSNBC, advance King's dream and this and that. But a dream means you are asleep. It means you are not awake. You're not paying attention to what's going on. Now, what they didn't tell you, what they're not talking about is the major riots that happened when King was killed. They actually invoked martial law when Dr. King got assassinated because they were so scared of the black people and what was going on. Another thing they don't tell you about is people were so pissed about integration. Black people were pissed and they freaking started to protest and march against integration. They're not talking about that either. They're not showing you the thousands of black people that was against integration, that marched against integration, who did not want integration. Now, they were so scared about the advancement of black people back then that they actually put together a secret law, a secret bill. It's called the King Alfred Plan. Now, I know some of you might have heard of it and probably didn't believe it was true, but this is a real actual thing. This is a real bill they put together, and they included Puerto Ricans in the 1980s. I think it was like 1985 or 1982 or something like that. They included Puerto Ricans, but originally it was for black people. It's basically a plan to keep black people from ever coming together, and if we ever united, this is what was going to happen. Now take a look at this.
Let's go back in time a little bit. Let's go back approximately 40 years ago. Between the years of 1960 and 1964, an organization called the National Security Council. Have y'all ever heard of that before? I know you have, because we talk about national security memorandums. Well, the National Security Council developed a government program called the King Alfred Plan. This program actually details the arrest, detention, encampment, and extermination of the black and Hispanic or Latino population of this country. No other race of people have had a program written for them but the black, and of course in 1984 it was amended to include the Hispanic population. President Reagan, along with the ex-director of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, Louis Goffredo, proposed this amendment in 1984, on April 6th of 1984, and hence you have the additional code name Rex 84. It's important that you understand, brothers and sisters, why this program has been put in place. You need to understand the drastic measures that have been strategically designed for our destruction.
Yes, yes.
Everybody say, policy planning study.
Policy planning study.
Now you may want to write this down so you can go verify it. For short, it's PPS-23. Again, notice the name of this. Policy planning. Policy planning study number 23. This took place, brothers and sisters, in February of 1948. I wasn't even born then. February of 1948, a man by the name of George Kennan, Kennon, of the State Department planning staff reported, and I quote him, he said, "The United States must devise a pattern of relationships which will permit them to maintain 50% of the world's wealth, while only having 6% of the world's population."
Yes, yes.
You've heard me talk about national security memorandums. Well, there's another memorandum that I hadn't told y'all about. It's called National Security Memorandum 200. Now, we talked about 46, which says blacks must never be allowed to unite in this country. Well, National Security Memorandum 200, write it down, go look it up. National Security Memorandum 200 was written in 1975. Brothers and sisters, I'm not talking about stuff that just happened within the last few years. I'm talking about a program that has been in place for some time here. In 1975, a man by the name of Henry Kissinger. Have y'all ever heard of him before? Yeah, he's been kind of recently in the news. In fact, he's one of Bush's boys. Henry Kissinger stated, and I quote him in National Security Memorandum, he says, quote, "A reduction of the rate of population is a matter of vital United States security, since the United States will require large and increasing amounts of materials from abroad, especially from LDCs." LDC is acronym for less developed countries. And of course, LDCs, you know where they call that? India, Africa. That's where they say the less developed countries are. So they're saying that they will take the materials from the LDCs. It goes on to say, and I quote him, "That fact gives the United States enhanced interest in the political, economic, and social stability of these supplying countries. Wherever, check out what he says, wherever a lessening of population can increase the prospects of such stability, population policy becomes relevant to sources supplied and to the economic interests of the United States. You want to know who the terrorist is in this world? The United States government. They have been for some time, brothers and sisters. Ex-President James Earl Carter, y'all call him Jimmy Carter, fanned the flames of this program when he issued a directive to Congress on May 23rd, 1977. President Carter ordered that a 3-year study on how to reduce the world's population be implemented. This program or study was called Global 2000, the report to the president. I quote from the Global 2000 report. Here's what it says, quote, that there will be zero population growth for the whites on Earth by the year 2000. Did y'all hear what I said? Their study said if we don't do something, there will be zero population growth for white folk by the year 2000. It goes on to say, and in order to preserve the survival of the white race, lands which contain resources that the United States needs must be freed of its population. Brothers and sisters, it's out there in documents, but we are so churchified, we don't know what's going on. In other words, y'all, they were trying to get you to understand. According to their projections, by the year 2000, which was 2 years ago, there was approximately 6.35 billion people on this planet. How many did I just say? 6.35 billion people on this planet. Approximately 5.2 billion were people of color. Y'all hearing this? In less developed countries, the Global 2000 program goes on to state, water will be polluted in Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and North Africa to destroy the coastal fisheries. The quote, desertification unit. In fact, they had what was called the United Nations Desertification Conference in 1977. The desertification unit will destroy woodlands in the Sahel region in Africa below the Sahara Desert to increase, check this out now, to increase the destruction of topsoil.
Yes, yes.
Are y'all hearing this? See, y'all, the land is so rich in Africa.
Yes.
You don't have to plant seeds. All you got to do is drop them. And they'll fertilize and take root and grow. So their program is to implement techniques that would destroy the topsoil and promote desert conditions. The people will, goes on to say, the people will have to resort to cow dung and field residue for fuel. Goes on to say another part of the report, fertility rates will be severely reduced. Doesn't say how though. It just says fertility rates will be severely reduced. Price of food will increase 95%. And Central Africa's food consumption will drop to 20% below the Food and Agriculture Organization standard for survival. Oh, this is really deep. And every $1 increase in the gross national product for less developed countries, for every $1, there will be $20 increase for North America, Western Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and Canada. Now this really blew my mind, y'all, when I was doing this research. It went on to say, whether, not W-H-E-T-H-E-R, W-E-A-T-H-E-R, the weather, like outside. The weather will be manipulated to affect production and demand of food exported from other countries. Now you know that's deep. When they've actually developed the technology to cause weather control. Brothers and sisters, look at the person next to you and say, we really need to open our eyes. The report also stated that although the needs of Latin America and Africa could be met, hear this, although the needs of Latin America and Africa could be met in one generation's time, the United States opted for world model number 3, which calls for, now check, this is world model number 3. This is plans that's already in place. World model number 3, which calls for massive famine in Asia and non-OPEC Africa. OPEC is oil producing, exporting countries. So if it's a country in Africa that really ain't into the oil thing, mass famine will be induced in that country. Think about this, brothers and sisters. 80% of the products currently used in the United States are taken as raw materials from non-white countries. Did y'all hear what I said? 80% of the products that's used by this country is taken out of non-white countries. Now you understand, I hope you do, why there's so much rampant starvation and poverty in so-called third world countries, especially our motherland. When I see them showing little children on television who are starving to death, this is all a part of their program. They create the crisis, they implement the starvation, then show it to you on television, and you send them your money to further finance their program. Ooh, buddy. Let's get back to the King Alfred plan, since you now understand why. You see, brothers and sisters, the point is almost here. Mark my word. The point is almost here that the plans of our lily white government to incite rioting and revolution among blacks and other people of color in the world, the point is almost here where the President of the United States will issue his order for the emergency. The King Alfred plan. You have it in your hands. Let's look at it right quick. Let's see what's going to happen here. They didn't write this, brothers and sisters, without a plan to make it happen. Let me say that one more time. They did not go through the trouble of writing this without a plan to pull it off. The King Alfred Plan, the United States of America King Alfred Plan, code-named Rex 84. Here's what it says, and I'm going to read quickly. In the event of widespread and continuing and coordinated racial disturbances in the United States, King Alfred, at the discretion of the president, underline that and then look at the person next and say, this is why no black man can be the president. You got to understand, people, this program was written for black people. They ain't gonna, hey, listen, I don't know, what's Secretary of State's name? Colin Powell. I don't know. He seems to be a little disgruntled, but when you got people like that supporting the white agenda, you know, it makes you wonder. They might be able to put somebody who looks black in the Oval Office. It says, at the discretion of the president, King Alfred is to be put into action when? In other words, when the president of the United States, not Congress, not the House, not the Senate, not the House of Representatives, not the Senate, when the president declares this emergency, it's to be implemented immediately. Participating federal agencies, what are they? National Security Council. What else? Central Intelligence Agency, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Justice, Department of Defense, Department of Interior. Participating state agencies, what are they? National Guard units, state police. Participating local agencies are what? City police and county police, that's right. Now, what are the things you need to understand, brothers? Let me make this notation before we read further. In addition to the law enforcement agencies that we just mentioned, in 1982, there was a guy named Oliver North. Y'all have heard of him, right? Oliver North and Ronald Reagan got together, and the two of them amended the King Alfred Plan. And their amendment became known as Rex 84 because it was signed by Ronald Reagan in 1984. Now, the original plan was signed by Lyndon Baines Johnson, but Ronald Reagan amended it to include the Hispanic population. Originally, it was, what we're going to read, it was just written for blacks. But in 1984, Oliver North and Ronald Reagan amended it to include the Hispanic and Latino population. What's really deep, brothers and sisters, is this. The neo-Nazi groups, this is all a part of the amendment in 1984. The neo-Nazi groups in Texas, Louisiana, and Mississippi, along with state militia groups, like the Missouri militia, the Michigan militia, the Minnesota militia, all of these white paramilitary groups that have their training grounds out in the woods and stuff that y'all, I'm sure y'all know about that, right? I hope you know about that. Well, the amendment in 1984 was written to include them automatically being deputized when the president declares the emergency. And all of these other groups will be deputized by the federal government to round up blacks and Hispanics for encampment. This is not good news, brothers and sisters. I'm not here to make you feel good today. I'm here to make you aware today. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Now, brothers and sisters, if y'all are thinking for a moment that there's going to be worldwide empathy or sympathy for us, don't think that. Now, I'm going to tell you why I say that, y'all, because y'all remember when James Baker was Secretary of State? Well, James Baker developed a policy with Russia and Canada. These other governments have created what's called a United States European base to exterminate blacks and Latinos in Africa, South America, the East and West Indies, Cuba, and Puerto Rico. I mean, they're working. Why? Why? Why are we targeted? Think about that. Let's finish reading the memo here. Memo from the National Security Council. Y'all see it? Notice what it says. Even before 1954, when the Supreme Court of the United States of America declared unconstitutional separate educational and recreational facilities, racial unrest and discord had become very nearly a part of the American way of life. But that way of life was repugnant to most Americans. Since 1954, however, that unrest and discord have broken out into widespread violence, which increasingly have placed the peace and stability of the nation in dire jeopardy. This violence has resulted in loss of life. Y'all remember the riots in the 60s, right? Okay, this violence has resulted in loss of life, limb, and property, and has cost the taxpayers of this nation billions of dollars, and the end is not yet in sight. This same violence has raised the tremendously grave question as to whether the races can ever live in peace with each other. Each passing month has brought new intelligence. Now check this out. That despite new laws passed to alleviate the condition of the minority still is not satisfied. Now who y'all think the minority is here? Black folk, right. Demonstrations and rioting have become a part of the familiar scene. Troops have been called out in city after city across the land, and our image as a world leader severely damaged. Our enemies press closer, seeking the advantage, possibly at a time during one of these outbreaks of violence. The minority has adopted an almost military posture to gain its objectives, which are not clear to who? To most Americans. Now, in other words, look at the person next to you and say, evidently, the minority and Americans are two different groups of people. In this document, anyway, when it says the minority has adopted an almost military posture, they're talking about the organizations like the Black Panther Party. You follow what I'm saying? The Black Panthers stood out there in LA with shotguns and handguns and stood face to face with the police department saying, we ain't gonna have this here. That was adopting a military posture, and they had to do something about it. It's expected, therefore, that, now check this out, when those objectives are denied the minority, what does it say, people? Racial war must be considered inevitable. Now here we go, here we go. Read this with me. When that emergency comes, we must expect the total involvement of all 22 million members of the minority, men, women, and children. For once this project is launched, its goal is to terminate once and for all the minority threat to the whole of the American society and indeed the free world. That's some serious programming. Now, of course, it says 22 million members, y'all, and that's because that was the amount of blacks in the country back in the early 60s. You take it and apply it to today, it's a lot more. Chairman, National Security Council. Next memo, preliminary memo from the Department of Interior. Under King Alfred, the nation has been divided into what? 10 regions this country's been divided into for the purpose of implementing their plan. In case of emergency, notice what it says. Minority members. What people? Minority members. Now again, this has been amended in 1984 to also include Hispanics now, and white sympathizers. Minority members would be evacuated from the cities by federalized National Guard units, local and state police, and if necessary, by regular units of the armed forces using public and military transportation. Read it now. What does it say? And detained in nearby military installations until a further course of action has been decided. Brothers and sisters, in case y'all did not know, June 27th, 1988, George Bush Sr. What date did I just say? June 27th, 1988. George Bush Sr. signed a document, an order proposing that military bases be turned into prisons. Look at the person next to you and say, there is a plan in place. It goes on to say that the 10 regions are 1, the capital region, 2, northeast region, 3, southeast region, 4, Great Lakes region, 5, south central region, 6, deep south region, 7, deep south region 2. Must be a lot of black folk in the deep south, huh, y'all? 8, Great Plains, Rocky Mountain region, 9, southwest region, 10, west coast region. No attempt will be made to seal off the Canadian and Mexican borders. Secretary, Department of the Interior. Oh man, over the page. Combined memo from the Department of Justice. Now here's where it starts really getting specific, people.
Yes, yes.
Federal Bureau of Investigation, see FBI and CIA. I know this ain't supposed to come from the pulpits, but I've got to tell the truth. This is why we in the shape we in. Because our pulpits are the main vehicle for keeping our people asleep. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Once the pulpits start teaching the truth, well, I know pulpits can't do it, but the people who stand behind the pulpit, once we start making our people aware, maybe we'll kind of empower ourselves. Maybe we'll say as a people, I can't just sit idly by anymore.
Yes, yes.
There are 12 major minority organizations, and all are familiar with the 22 million. Dossiers or files have been compiled on the leaders of these organizations and can be studied in Washington. Check out this part, y'all. The material contained in many of the dossiers and our threat to reveal that material has considerably held in check some of the leaders. What does that mean? That means when they have dirt on the leaders, and the leaders decide they want to get out of hand, they start releasing some of that dirt to the public to put those leaders back in check. How many of y'all remember not too very long ago, they had this video clip on television of Al Sharpton making a drug deal? Y'all remember that? Now, y'all know how old that is? That goes all the way back to the mid-'80s. They had that clip all this time, but now the brother is trying to be more vocal for his people, and what did they do? Release some of that dirt. Brother done got quiet now. Yeah, buddy, that's how they hold our leaders in check. Leaders who do not have such usable material in their dossiers have been approached to take government posts, mostly as ambassadors, and primarily in African countries. Y'all remember when Martin Luther King got shot? Andy Young was standing right there on the balcony with him. And right after King got shot, what did they do? They made Andrew Young a United Nations ambassador. That's how they buy our leaders, people. The man was standing right there next to King. If anybody should have been a vocal advocate for what was going on, it should have been Andy Young. But Andy became a good boy, became an ambassador. Look at the person next to you and say, it's bad when people are for sale. Let's make it even better. Let's say it's bad when our leaders are for sale. You see, brothers and sisters, the promise of these positions have also materially contributed to a temporary slowdown of minority activities. And it goes on to say, however, we do not expect these slowdowns to be of long duration. Why not? Because there are always new and dissonant elements joining these organizations. In other words, what they're saying is young folk are coming along. And they have a whole new paradigm. They have a whole new energy to deal with us. So what we must do is address them too. All organizations and their leaders are under what? Constant 24-hour surveillance. The organizations are, read them with me. One, the Black Muslim. Why y'all think the Nation of Islam is the top of the list? Think about it. What organization out here has addressed and fought racism as strong as the Nation of Islam? What organization in this country has done more for the resurrection of the black man than the Nation of Islam? Not one. The black church sure enough hasn't done it. In fact, the black church is the reason why the black man is in the condition he's in. You think about it, y'all, the black church is not designed for the empowerment of the black man. The black church is designed to excite black women. That's why in black church, music is so important. Brothers don't want to hear all that stuff. Don't get me wrong, we ain't that we don't like music. But brothers just ain't into all that emotion. And if you notice, most of the time when people are getting involved, it's sisters standing up and clapping. Brothers are sitting there saying, oh, I'm waiting for you to feed this. Brothers are not into feeling good. Not that we don't want to feel good, but that's not our agenda. And the black church is about emotionalism. The black church is about how do you feel when you come out the wilderness. Now, y'all know it's the truth. They ain't asking what did you know when you come out the wilderness. It's how do you feel when you come out. Oh, shucks. Black Muslims. 2, Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, also known as SNCC. 3, Congress of Racial Equality. 4, the Voodoo Movement. 5, Group on Advanced Leadership, or GOLD. 6, Freedom Now Party. 7, United Black Nationalists of America. 8, the New Pan-African Movement. 9, Southern Christian Leadership Conference. 10, the National Urban League. 11, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. 12, Committee on Racial and Religious Progress. And I've added another one, y'all. 13, the African Village Center. Yeah, I had to put that there. Note, at the appropriate time, underline those words, y'all. At the appropriate time. What does that tell you? That this thing is still in the works. At the appropriate time, to be designated by the president, the leaders of some of these organizations are to be detained. When though? Only when it is clear that they cannot prevent the emergency. Can I give you a real live example of what I'm talking about? In other words, the next time y'all decide to sit down on Route 70, okay, and they bring their Pied Piper in here to lead y'all, if he is not having an effect, then he's no more good to them. But if they can bring their boy in here and sit down with y'all, and then say, all right, y'all, let's get up and go get in the paddy wagon, because we made our point. And then the whole thing only lasts a good 20 minutes. That leader is still effective for their cause. Look at the person next to you and say, we got to learn how to stop allowing them to manipulate us with our illegitimate leaders. Am I making sense, people? I know this message is not going to be liked, but I got to tell it. I got to tell it. I'm tired of seeing them send their puppets in here. Talking good. And that's what they do every day. They just fly all over the country getting arrested. They come here to St. Louis today, lead y'all into a game, get a phony arrest, fly out with their FBI escort, and go in Baltimore tomorrow and do the same thing. How many people come on, y'all, come on. Come on. I'm sorry for busting y'all's bubble. Gotta tell you like it is. It goes on to say, all other leaders are to be detained at once. In other words, the leaders that ain't for sale. Compiled list of minority leaders have been readied at the National Data Computer Center. It is necessary to use the minority leaders designated by the president. I gotta walk now. Y'all see that? Minority leaders that the president designated. Look at the person next to you and say, so what good are they? It's necessary to use them in much the same manner in which we use minority members who are agents of the Central Intelligence Agency and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And we cannot, until there is no alternative, reveal King Alfred with all its aspects. In other words, I ain't supposed to be standing up here telling y'all about this. You're not supposed to know about this. You see, brothers and sisters, the only way to prevent a conspiracy is to expose it.
Yes. I say.
Notice the next sentence, y'all. Minority members of Congress will be unseated at once. Uh-oh. You mean Maxine Waters? She's a sister who speaks out for us. And the law has been written that when the president declares this emergency, so what, Maxine? You just another Nigger. Conyers, you just another Nigger. When the president decides that y'all gotta go, all of y'all out of here. That's the law, people, signed by the President of the United States. Let's go on to the next memo because I'm running way out of time. From the Department of Defense. This memo is being submitted in lieu of a full report from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Now this is from the DOD now, Department of Defense. That report is now in preparation. There will be many cities where the minority will be able to put into the street a superior number of people with a desperate and dangerous will. Look at the person next to you and say, and that's because we got a lot of black folk. He will be a formidable enemy, for he is bound to the continent by heritage and knows that political asylum will not be available to him in other countries. Why not? Because they done worked it out, y'all, to where you got to get their permission to leave this country now. No passport, you ain't going nowhere. In the case of a national emergency, boom, all passports are suspended. How you going to get out of the country?
Yes.
I got a passport. So? You think you got an important document. That's just deep. That's just their permission for you to go. Goes on to say, the greatest concentration of the minority is in the Deep South, the Eastern Seaboard, the Great Lakes region, and the West Coast. Now, while the national population exceeds that of the minority by more than 10 times, we must realistically take into account the following. 1, an estimated 40 to 50% of the white population will not, for various reasons, engage the minority during an emergency. The reason why the white folk ain't gonna try to get out there in the street and engage us is because they know they ain't gonna win. No. They'll get out there in the street and they'll see Shaka Zulus everywhere. And they ain't gonna stay there. No. They don't want that. Number 2, American armed forces are spread around the world. A breakout of war abroad means fewer troops at home to handle the emergency. 3, local law enforcement officials must contain the emergency until help arrives, though it may mean fighting a superior force. New York City, for example, has a 25,000-man police force. Well, now it's more like 55,000. And there are about 1 million minority members in the city. We are confident that the minority would hold any city it took for how long, no? Only a few hours. Why? Because the lack of weapons, facilities, logistics all put the minority at a final disadvantage. Now notice this next part. Before we even read this next paragraph, say this with me. Black folk don't belong in the military. Don't so. No. Now I know it's real good when you get in there and they give you room and board and everything, and you know you stay in there and do your time and they take care of you for the rest of your life, suppose. But you know, especially now. No. And I'm gonna tell you, we're getting ready to read why right now. Notice what it says. Since the Korean War, this department has shifted minority members of the armed forces to areas where combat is most likely to occur, with the aim of eliminating through combat as many combat-trained military servicemen as possible. Why is that? They can't afford to have combat military trained black folk on the streets here. There's a movie I encourage y'all to get called The Spook Who Sat by the Door. It's about a black man the first black man who became a member of the Central Intelligence Agency. And after he learned all of their skills and training, he resigned, went back to the black community, and taught all those skills to the brothers in the hood. He was a dangerous human being. They couldn't figure out where all this mess was coming from. They thought another nation had launched clandestine war against the United States. And it was brothers in the community who had learned the covert activities that the United States government had trained this brother. Today, the ratio of minority member combat deaths in Vietnam, of course this was again written back in the 60s, where they are serving as advisors, is twice as high as the minority population ratio to the rest of America. Now, here it gives a timetable for how this plan is to be implemented. Brothers and sisters, I don't know if you can even get your mind to fathom what I'm about to tell you. But here they have this thing so organized that they actually got it worked out to how they can actually round up, arrest, and detain and incarcerate all of the black people in this country in an 8-hour period. Notice what it says. Number 1, local police and minority leaders in action to head off the emergency. In other words, those hand-picked leaders by the president, first thing they do, they send them in, try to get black folk to stand down. You know, now don't try to go in and tell them, don't tell them you came in there to stop them. Go on and let them march a couple of blocks. Yeah, let them march a couple of blocks. Let them sit down on the highway for 20 minutes. But then cause them to stand down. Lead them into the paddy wagons. Or talk to them and say, all right, y'all, it's time for us to go now. 2, countdown to 8 hours begins at the moment the president determines the emergency to be national, coordinated, and it's going to last a while. 3, county police join local police. That's the 7th hour. 6th hour, state police join county and local police. 5th hour, federal marshals join state, county, and local forces. 4th hour, National Guard units are federalized and held in readiness. Now, down to the 3rd hour now. Regular armed forces alerted, take up position. Now notice this, highlight this part. Minority troops divided and detained. Y'all see this? In other words, Yeah, you in the Army. You in the Marines. With your M16. But when the president declares an emergency, we're going to take your M16 from you. Even though you done went and got almost gave your life for this country. When the president declares an emergency and it's time to round up all these black folk and put them in some of these storage facilities until we decide what we're going to do with them. Y'all, why do you think they building all these storage facilities? Y'all ain't got that much stuff to put in storage. Come on, y'all. Think. Storage facilities with running water. What boxes need with running water? Minority troops divided and detained along with all white sympathizers under guard down to the second hour. All minority leaders, national and local, detained. Why is it that they want to detain the leaders? You know? Why just the leaders? Now, they ain't round up all of our people yet, just the leaders. Now, president goes on national radio and television and tells black folk and the Hispanics, y'all got 1 hour to stand down. If they don't listen, down to 0 hours, all units under regional commands into the emergency. Engage. Now, here's a note. Zero Committee report. And this was called the Zero Committee. And of course, talking about zero population. Survey shows that during a 6-year period, production created 9 million objects. What in the world is that? Or 1.5 million each year. Production could not dispose of the containers, which proved a bottleneck. However, that was almost 20 years ago. And remember, this was done in 64. 20 years before 64 is 44. 1944, 1943, 1944, that's when the Holocaust took place, y'all, in Nazi Germany.
Yes, yes.
And what happened was the furnaces that Hitler used to burn these people weren't hot enough. Right. So when they start throwing the bodies in the furnaces, the bodies weren't burning up fast enough, and it caused the furnaces to get clogged up. So notice what this report says. We suggest that vaporization techniques be employed to overcome the production problems inherent in King Alfred. What does that mean? Well, as a result of this recommendation, they began to build what we call high volume or nuclear powered trash incinerators. And these incinerators burn 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Y'all listen, steel, depending on the kind of steel it is, melts between 2,600 and 2,700 degrees. Now, steel will melt at that temperature. Why do you need a incinerator that burns 5,000 degrees? So that the furnaces don't get clogged up again. When they take those people who they detained and gas them, put them to sleep, Lord have mercy, put them on these conveyor belts that roll into this furnace. As soon as they get in there, poof. Now I know it's not good news. Preacher, I didn't come here to feel sad today. Hey, if you don't know, you're going to really feel sad. Because the biblical text says it this way: my people are destroyed because of a lack of knowledge. Don't say it can't happen, people. Don't say it can't, because on February 21st, 1942, Executive Order 9066 was implemented. And on February 21st, 1942, every Japanese American in this country was arrested and detained. And the law stated if they were 1/16 Japanese, they were to be locked up too. When the Japanese, the war, World War II. I don't say it can't be done. But see, Japanese got sense. We bombed Japan. Now Japan owns us. Isn't that deep? 60 years later, Japan is one of the richest countries in the world. They own more property in this country than anybody else. They didn't walk around with a sign saying, "We shall overcome." Japanese didn't do that. Japanese said, "I'll tell you what we're going to do. They bombed us. We're going to send our children to their schools." Now you go into hospitals and look at the majority of doctors. Majority of doctors are now Korean slant-eyed doctors. Yeah, buddy. What I'm sharing with y'all, brothers and sisters, is a reality. I'm giving you this information, and there's a whole lot more that I could give you here. But what you must understand is the most important point here is that your government is depending on you being ignorant.
So yeah, what more proof do you need? I mean, when you look at that, it gotta make you mad. It's the whole reason why I'm making this video, because black people, we need to unite. Black people are so busy trying to unite with a being who never existed, who's not real, named Jesus Christ. And they are destroying themselves because of this whole fake Bible thing. They have so many weapons against us, and we have nothing. We don't even have the knowledge to form a weapon. And you got a few people who's screaming and banging on the wall and trying to get the attention of black people, saying, "Hey, wake up." But we get looked at like we crazy. Like we don't know what the hell we're talking about. And I don't know what it is. And well, I know what it is. It's psychological warfare. But it's like this thing with us that when we see when we see a black person trying to do something, we always feel like he got this ulterior motive or he's crazy. But in reality, it's just, well, in my case, I really genuinely believe that we can do this, that it's possible if we just wake up and get the knowledge. It may not happen in my lifetime, but at least I can say I did something to try to help us out. At least I can say I'm on record trying to help my people out, and I can go with a clear conscience knowing that I put my heart into something and I tried to help out our race. Now, if we don't start paying attention to what's going on in the black community and start paying attention to what these politicians are doing, we don't have a party that represents us. And even if we did, and in my opinion, they would probably get bought out. We need somebody who has genuine heart, who really wants to help the black community. Now, we putting all this money into these white people's pockets, entertainment, sports. I mean, that's all well and good that this brother made it and he doing something, but if he's not helping his community out, what the fuck do I care for? I mean, really, don't get me wrong, that's one of the things they got right. I love sports, I love football. I mean, but that money is not helping us out. It's helping out that individual black person and his family. It's not helping out the community. So why haven't these black celebrities, these black athletes come together? Why haven't they come together to do something to aid in helping black people? And it's because we have this poisonous mindset that everything is, I'm shitting on you, I got it, you don't. If you could make it tomorrow that everybody's on an equal par, there's no poor people, everybody has the same amount of money, everybody is rich or wealthy, everybody has everything that they need, I guarantee you that if we could vote on that, the people who have money already is going to vote against it. They're going to say, no, I don't want everybody to be rich like me, because I want to shit on people. And it doesn't really have so much to do with their character. I mean, yeah, it does, but I mean, it's the way they have been. They have evolved. It's the way that the genes have passed along through them, and that's what makes them the way they are. I mean, it's the way that their mind has been controlled with TV and with the music and everything. And yeah, I believe that people are genuinely good and have a good heart. I mean, some of these celebrities do good things, and it's not always about a tax break all the time. They do good things in private, but secretly, they're glad that they are above people. I mean, they like that power. They like people to worship them and look at them, in that way. But I think that if we could pass a law, we could all vote that everybody is rich and on the same level, most of the people would be like, nah. Even people who ain't got money probably be like, well, I want to come up and shit on my neighbor, or I don't like this bitch, I want to shit on her, I don't want her to be equal to me. Not realizing that hard work gets you more than somebody. And no matter what level you on with a person, I could be on the same level, but if you do more than that person, you're going to rise above them. And it's hard work that rises above a person. It's not no kind of feeling or animosity that you have against a person that's going to make you somehow be better than them. It's hard work. And that's how you get people respect. Ain't nobody gonna respect you if you don't have nothing. You gotta get something, and that's how you get respect. But how come these celebrities and these so-called athletes not helping us? How come they haven't put together a plan? Now, Tupac, I think he put together a perfect plan, and he mentioned it in his recording that I heard. And if you listen to it, he kind of basically gave us the blueprint that celebrities could use to fix the black community. Now, listen to this.
And I want to get this organization started with you. Only we could do it. Let me tell you the idea.
Right.
It's like we start like this youth league, right?
Right.
Like football league, basketball, football, softball, for girls and boys. I'm going to get all the rappers to adopt a team.
Right.
Each rapper have his own team. Coolio have his team, Tretch have his team, I have my team. And we play. And the rappers the ones that put the money up. We get the field, we play. Right. We have like the churches come out and sell food.
That's real.
We had the fathers and the uncles and all of the men in the community. They do security.
Right.
Get their respect back for the kids and everything. Then we had the FOI come out. We had the deacons from the church. They do security. And we just play football, baseball, get that community spirit going again.
I'm with it,
Then
man.
on the weekends, we have block parties. All right. And every rapper got to get up. Every rapper, nigga, if you got a record out, you got to get up for us. You got to come do a free show for the hood.
That's real.
And it's like a little tour. So we do that. And we get all the communities back together. And I'm talking to Al Sharpton about this, some other motherfuckers with some power. And then when we do that, we register the voters. And if we can register them for Democrats, Republican, or Independent. Once we register the voters, we have power. Then we start going up to the mayors of these cities and telling them, look, we got this many voters in this city. We want you to do this. We want a community center. We start hitting up Nike for the free clothes, the computer stores for the free computers for each community center. And if they don't, then shit, that's how many people we have in those cities we can regulate. You know what I mean? If we telling the mayor, nigga, if you don't do this, then we ain't gonna do this.
Yeah.
If we telling them we can clean up the streets, I'm gonna have all these tough ass supposed to be gangster rappers.
Straight up.
We're gonna all get in the van. We're gonna travel. LA got to be the last place because it's going to be hardest. But we can do New Jersey, all of that. We're going to drive to all these drug areas, right?
Yeah.
Imagine me, Redman, Tretch, Ice Cube, them type of niggas getting out, going up to the whoever's the main drug dealer on that block. Who runs shit? If we get out of a van, be like, what's up, nigga? How y'all doing? What's up? Yo, who the nigga that runs shit? They going to take us to that nigga. We invite those niggas to dinner. Invite them niggas to some Jean Perignon, steak and lobster, and be like, look, player, we asking you, not telling you, we asking you as a player to a player, can you please give us a pass to have these streets clean from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m., 6 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Right.
Let that be for the kids. Let them the niggas be safe during those times. No gunshots, no drug dealers. From 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., y'all can have the streets back. But let us get the streets from these times. Then we can get these politicians. I talked to Al Sharpton. He said he can get the police to like chill out on those nighttime patrols if niggas can get the streets clean from 6 to 11.
Hey, and you know what else too though? When I talk to you face to face, I'm gonna drop some shit on you, right? Some other stuff too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's that, man. I'm with all that, right? And that's my type of work.
Yeah, we need power, man.
I'm telling you, hey, dig it, man. Hey, I'm telling you, we got power, man.
Yeah, we need power. Power is numbers, and it's like we rappers, man. While we don't have it, we got the juice. We just ain't doing nothing with it.
So why haven't any of these celebrities done anything like this or try to put a conscious effort together to help the black community? Not just a once a year thing where you help out a couple people, but a major thing. I mean, we have Oprah's a billionaire. You know what I'm saying? Dre's a billionaire now. Hove and Beyonce, billionaire couple. Diddy and all of them. We're talking about billions of dollars that these rich celebrities have, but we can't help one community. I mean, they had enough money. They got enough money to go into the poorest black community, let's say somewhere in Detroit, and help those people out. I mean, basically revitalize that area and help these black people out, but they're not doing that. They haven't helped nobody do anything. Now, it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that you gotta just really look at what our money goes into. It goes to them. So, I mean, you will hope that if I'm giving you money to help you out, that when it comes time for you to help me back out, that you will do something. Like, even if you don't help me, help them, help somebody, and make it count. Don't make it a charity thing, don't make it a tax thing, but make it like something big or something that's gonna be long lasting, that's gonna help a bunch of black people out, instead of you just showing up at a party or showing up at some kind of charity event where you're gonna get eaten, probably get paid to go. So instead of help the black community, these rappers and these movie stars have chosen to destroy the black community in exchange for fame and fortune. And if you don't believe that, listen to the music, look at the movies, and just pay attention to what's going on. Why are they doing this? Instead of telling black women that you are descended from kings, that you are descended from pharaohs, telling men that they have the knowledge and the power to do anything if they just unite, telling them what's really going to happen if they go ahead and bang a nigga in the chest, if they go ahead and do this and do that, do all these thug things. Why don't they educate these black men and tell them that, hey brother, yo, if you shoot this dude, you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail. You're going to have to go to court. You're going to have to stand in front of that man's family and a bunch of white people, and they're going to look at you like you're fucking crazy and talk down to you. And then when that part's over, guess what? You're going to go to jail where you could possibly get killed by another motherfucker, or butt fucked, or treated like shit, or beat the fuck up every day, or starve to death. Why isn't it a conscious effort to do that? Do you understand the influence and power that these celebrities have? You got girls walking around trying to look like Nicki Minaj, trying to look like Beyonce. These guys defending Jay-Z, trying to be like Jay-Z, trying to be rap stars. The influence that they have on the masses of black people is unparalleled to any other person. And that's hip hop, because everybody want to be cool. Everybody want to be a star. Everybody want to be popular. And these celebrities, especially the black ones, because they don't only influence us, they influence white people as well. So why haven't they taught these women about their bodies and how their bodies are going to mature and how more men are going to want them? Instead of educating these black women about the dangers of just because you look good could have in a black community or anywhere, they say, hey, you know, find a rich man, or find a guy that's going to look at you that way and use him. You know, can't pay my bills, can't pay my telephone bills, you know, Scrubs. All these songs just kind of trying to turn black women into hookers, into prostitutes. I mean, that's basically what it's doing. Instead of telling them, hey, black sister, you are a descendant of queens. You are descendants of queens who have held the throne and have ruled nations, who have consorted with senators. Like, why isn't this knowledge being passed to black women? I mean, you just look at the way black women are portrayed on TV. I mean, they turn on the TV to look at these music videos, and all they see is black women shaking their ass. And that's what they try to be. So we got almost every gorgeous, bad black chick is either in some kind of magazine showing her ass, or Facebook showing her ass for free, or in some porno, or a stripper, because they don't have the mindset that they can do something more than that. And it's creating animosity between them and black women who do look good, that's not out there doing these things, who just trying to, you know, fit in and just trying to do the right thing. And that create animosity, because see, us as black men, we look at those women who trying to do the right thing and we stereotype them based on the women who are strippers, based on our past experience with women, and we don't realize this thing really stems all the way back to slavery. Now, I was saying earlier about genetics and how genes are passed down and how traits are passed down, how we pass down our looks from our ancestors, how we pass down certain things we do from, you know, our grandparents or parents or whatever like that. So this thing really goes back to slavery, and you got to look at it, because when the slave master saw the beautiful, good-looking black woman, he raped her. You know, he took her, and sometimes they fell in love with these black women, and they gave black women special privileges. Either, you know, you get with the white guy, and then he gives you things. He dressed those black women in clothes he would dress his white wife, and they looked good, and they didn't have to do the slave chores, and they didn't have to do the things that the slaves did. They could just chill and relax and, you know, sip their tea and just boss black people around. Now, for the black women who didn't want the white man's advances or didn't want to be raped by a white man, what could they do? They probably looked at those black men for help, but those black men couldn't do anything. They probably watched them get raped. What could they do? They couldn't do anything. But at the same time, you have these black men getting bossed around by these black women because they sleeping with the white slave master, and the black man looking at the black slave woman like, you a sellout, like you a whore. But really, what could they possibly do? What could they do? So this created an animosity. It's called divide and conquer. It's called divide and conquer. And it's one of the reasons why they start separating the children from their parents. Now, I want you to look at this real quick and look at what this guy has to talk about that.
But first, I want to say something to the ladies in the audience. I want you ladies to understand that African women, and you're the genetic reproductions of our mothers, were considered the most beautiful women on the planet for thousands of years by all of the civilized people of the world. The Greeks thought so much of your beauty that they named 2 star constellations after you, Andromeda and Cassiopeia, the two most beautiful star constellations that are in heaven. They say that they have all of the beauty of the setting sun, hair which is alive, and a figure incomparable even today. So I don't want you to think that just because we went through 400 years of horror where they were saying you were ugly, that you believe that. Because you're the most beautiful people. You are imitated by everybody. So I want to say that before we get on to the discussion.
That's right, that's right.
That's right.
Incredible.
In answer to your question,
yes.
And you thought that's because I'm old, I forgot the question.
His memory's better than mine.
I hate to ask this question because it's embarrassing. How many of you who are African Americans, how many of you know the African city and country from which your ancestors were born? Except my daughter.
Not one hand went up.
Not one hand went up. I asked this question of 500 whites. How many of you know the city and country? I was teaching at a university, a white university, just outside Philadelphia. Every hand went up. They knew not only the country from which they came, not only the city, but the borough from which their ancestors came. Now, how come they know and none of you know? Here's the reason. And here's the reason why I am different. The reason is that these South Carolina and North Carolina plantation owners went to Germany to find out how they could control our fathers and mothers on the plantation. But they were getting out of hand. They were burning the houses down. They were killing white folks. They were doing everything negative about being in captivity. They were never slaves. They were prisoners of war, the War of 1591. So what happened was they sought the advice of an expert in Shanghai history. Now, his name was Johann Blumenbach, and he was the head of the Department of History at the University of Göttingen in Germany. How many of you know this? I know you was taught this in college and everything, all you college folks. Well, when they sought his advice, they said, do they know that they're the Shanghai people? So the plantation owners who traveled over there to seek his advice said, well, of course they know that they come from the great Shanghai Empire. Well, that's your problem. You can't let them know that they came from greatness, from grandeur, from beauty, from sophistication. You'll never be able to control them. So the plantation owners said, well, how can we prevent it? I mean, the mothers and the fathers would tell the children, say, you came from Timbuktu and you came from the city of Jané and that's where we were born. And then the Europeans came over and invaded us in 1591 and marched us to the seas, to the waiting ship. Said, man, you can't allow them to teach that to their children. They said, well, how you want to stop it? Here's how you do it. Here's why you don't know where you're from. Blumenbach said, what you do, as soon as a boatload arrives, take the babies out the mama's arms. Send the parents to a distant plantation and work them to death and raise the children to believe that they came from a jungle. They won't know the difference.
That's right.
How would they know?
That's right.
Their parents are gone. Now, here's the difference between me and you. When they captured my grandmother, I'm not going through, you heard the beginning of the story, My grandfather was a lawyer and a sculptor in Benin City, Nigeria. And the English kept on coming over stealing his sculpture.
Wow.
Some of his sculpture ended up at the art museum in West Philadelphia, where they came to show it off because it was world-class sculpture.
So have you been able to see this sculpture?
Oh, sure.
Wow.
Yeah, we've got some in the book. But anyhow, what happened was his wife hassled him and said, don't fight the English when they come over, just let them have the sculpture. I'm pregnant, and they'll kill you. Then I'll be a widow, and they'll put me on board ship and take me over there where they're taking all the rest of those prisoners of war. But my grandfather, whose name was Mwale, said, I'm fighting them. I'm not going to let them steal my sculpture anymore. And he gathered some of his fellow sculptors, and they fought the English when they came over to steal. They always stealing something. And they killed him, killed my grandfather, and put his wife, his pregnant wife, my great-great-great-grandmother on board the ship. And the ship was named Jesus, by the way. That's deep. I've been angry ever since. Well, not a Jesus, but and on the way over, the baby was born.
Wow.
All right, name of Diane. She named Diane. Now, it was bound for South Carolina. How many of your ancestors came from South Carolina? Raise your hand.
Oh, boy.
A whole bunch of folks. They were bound for South Carolina. But in 1808, this was 1813, in 1808, a law was passed by Congress forbidding more importations of the Songhai people. We're the Songhai people.
Right.
See, Blumenbach said, don't allow them to even learn that they came from the Songhai Empire.
Right. We're going to try to breed them here on this continent
That's
rather
right.
than continuing the cultural memory.
They don't even let them learn the name Songhai. Because then they'll start investigating. Then take away their ability to read and write, pass laws against them learning to read and write. Then they can't learn anything about the Songhai Empire. And they passed a law, 200 years, a law not allowing blacks to learn to read and write. Well, anyhow, in 1808, this law was passed forbidding any more importations of Songhai people. Now, nobody paid any attention to that law at all except one little group called abolitionists. Now, the abolitionists put their money together and they bought a ship. And they patrolled the seas looking for prisoner of war ships, which you all were trained to say slave ships. They were no slave ships, they were prisoner of war ships.
Very important
distinction. Very important distinction.
That's right.
And when we teach our children, they were never slaves.
That's
they
right.
were children, descendants of prisoners of war. Like McLean, he was a prisoner of war.
That's right.
He wasn't a slave.
That's right.
He got captured by the enemy.
That's right.
On the way, this abolitionist ship captured the ship that my great-great-grandmother was on. So instead of this baby being taken from my arms in South Carolina, the ship was towed to Trenton, New Jersey. And of course, Nzinga, who was the baby's mother, my great-great-great-grandmother, taught the baby that her father was a world-class sculptor, that her father was a lawyer, that he went to world-class university. So I was trained from babyhood, you know, that we've got to right this wrong.
That's right. That's right.
So I was, it's your job, because you were spared by just an act of God, an act of the ancestors, to not let the baby being taken from Nzinga's arms. And the baby grew up, and she had a child. Her name is Mary Diane Thomas, and she was my great-grandmother, and she helped raise me.
Wow.
So she told me the story when I was a kid, you see. So that's how I know
Wow.
where we're from.
Wow.
That's what it is.
This speech was delivered by Willie Lynch on the banks of the James River in the colony of Virginia in 1712. Lynch was a British slave owner in the West Indies. He was invited to the colony of Virginia in 1712 to teach his methods to slave owners there. The term lynching is derived from his last name. Greetings, gentlemen. I greet you here on the bank of the James River in the year of our Lord 1712. First, I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. I'm here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your invitation reached me on my modest plantation in the West Indies, where I have experimented with some of the newest and still the oldest methods for control of slaves. Ancient Rome would envy us if my program is implemented. As our boat sails south on the James River, named for our illustrious king, whose version of the Bible we cherish, I saw enough to know that your problem is not unique. While Rome used cords of wood as crosses for standing human bodies along its highways in great numbers, you are here using the tree and the rope on occasions. I caught the whiff of a dead slave hanging from a tree a couple miles back. And you're not only losing valuable stock by hangings, you are having uprisings, slaves are running away, your crops are sometimes left in the fields too long for maximum profit, you suffer occasional fires, your animals are killed. Gentlemen, you know what your problems are. I do not have to elaborate. I'm not here to enumerate your problems. I'm here to introduce you to a method of solving them. In my bag here, I have foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 400 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and I make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On the top of my list is age, but it's there only because it starts with an A. The second is color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, sizes of plantations, status on plantations, attitude of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley, on a hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. The black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old versus the old black male versus the young black male. The young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have white servants and overseers who distrust all black, but it's necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Gentlemen, these kids are your keys to control them. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensely for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you, gentlemen.
A couple of newborns all the way up to age 11. There's at least 11 mothers, probably more. He himself is just 29. Constitutionally, there's nothing the state can do to limit him from having children. This is his story. Desmond Hatchett has been to child support court a time or two.
I had 4 kids in the same year twice.
Today, his name appeared on the docket 11 times, representing about 15 of his 21 children. Can you keep up with it all?
Yeah.
You know all their names and ages and birthdays?
Yeah.
Hatchett is just 29 years old.
Because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. Every attempt by black people in the Caribbean, the Americas, the United Kingdom, to improve their living conditions through the political, educational, and economic systems has been a failure. But at the same time, other ethnic racial groups have been successful in leading their people to an acceptable standard of living using those same systems. It is interesting to note that black Americans have been in the United States longer than most of the other ethnic groups, except the Native American Indian, but have still fallen behind every group in virtually every level of society. Leviticus 26:33, and I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. Deuteronomy 28:25, The Lord shall curse thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them. And thou shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
The penalties of perjury. There you go. Excuse me. And what I have here is a confession by somebody that looks like they're still on extended parole as a habitual offender. After having a long...
I've been out of the joint a long
All these curses shall come upon thee, and God declares that Israel would be forcibly removed from their ancestral homeland and scattered throughout the 4 corners of the earth as captives to these new lands, where they will dwell in the midst of people from all ethnicities, but not as a sovereign nation. This is another characteristic of the Israelites.
Service turns tragic when a child is struck and killed by a stray bullet.
The 4-year-old was sitting in church with his family when the bullet came through the roof of that sanctuary.
This drama queen here have lied on several of her statements, and I'd like to clarify that.
How you know that? Don't speak to her.
Yes, she just told me not to speak to her, and I'm talking to the judge. First of all, when she got put out, I did not put her out because she had a baby. I put her out because she wanted to fight me in my house. She got up in my face.
Yeah, she's got an attitude. She's got an attitude.
More than a third of the black population in cities like Boston, New York, and Philadelphia lived in blind alleys, cellars, and lofts. The poor, unsanitary living conditions caused widespread health problems and shortened their lifespans. Deuteronomy 28:19. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out.
Recovering addict, an ex-con, been to prison, did my time, paid my debt to society.
How long were you in prison?
3 years.
For what?
For drugs.
Okay.
I have been arrested 33 times.
33 times?
Misdemeanor.
Verse 20, the Lord shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, and all that thou settest thine hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me.
My car to open up my door to get in my car. I heard my cousin scream my name from down the street. She said, Janisha, when I turned to look, the defendant swung at me, took a swing at me.
She took a swing at you.
She swung at me. Yeah, she swung and she connected, and she swung and hit me in my left eye. Swing off. Yep, I sure did. When I got done swinging off, I went to my car, took off my little sandals, and put on my Jordans. I sure did. Now I'm walking down the street, chasing him.
On paper, he has 20, possibly, as he just said, 21 children. Or the minimum wage job, he can't afford to support all of his children. So what is the state to do? Volunteer TV's Amber Miller has
Affiliation once determined your fate. Race is now playing a leading role in gang-related killings. As LA's Hispanic gang population grew, they went to war with black gangs for domination of the neighborhoods. That battle has now escalated to a race war.
Struck in the head by a stray bullet.
That was my only child. He's gone. He was only 4. I missed him. I loved him. He was so sweet.
Whatever, go to school and get your education. Don't follow my footsteps. Don't make the same mistake as I made. Motherfucker, stay in school, nigga. If you want to bang, nigga, then you already know where it's headed, nigga. You already know where it's headed. We done lost 2 fucking months, nigga. Up or down, your mom and daddy ain't lying to you, fool. They ain't with their kids and somebody else that took their lives. It's just hard out here. But it's like this every day, man, you know what I'm saying? It's not easy out here, you know what I'm saying? The homies is, everybody, niggas is dying, man, mamas is crying. You know what I'm saying? We need to come up with a solution to try and do something with this old bullshit.
There's I've seen about 30 planes already this morning. They're just dropping all kinds of chemical trails and stuff all over the skies. They've literally made a grid above the entire Phoenix area. So I'm trying to get the number to make a complaint with the FAA or someone.
Okay. I can get you the number for our flight standard district office.
Can you write this down, please? Okay, go ahead.
Hold on, I gotta look it up here.
This is where I can make this type of complaint?
This is where you can contact the Federal Aviation Administration.
Okay. Go ahead when you're ready.
Yeah, just give me a second here.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I mean, it's a clear blue day, but yet the entire sky is covered with these trails from these planes that are going from one side of the city to the next, and they make X's and big grids over the city.
Okay.
Do you have any idea what this stuff is?
I actually don't. I've been outside for at least 2 or 3 hours.
Well, no, it's there like almost every day. I mean, if you just look up in the sky, you can see that like none of the clouds are real, and they're just made from these planes that just drop this stuff. And no one knows what it is. Yeah, no one can tell me what it is, or no one seems to care, or, but you just look up in the sky, it looks like a painting. It looks like a painting. It's weird.
Wow. Okay. There is a Flight Standards District office located in Scottsdale, and their phone number is 480-419-0111.
Okay.
Okay. You can also contact them via email.
Alters your brain waves and causes hallucinations, and also affects, I think Lamar might have said this, affects your white blood cells. White blood cells. AIDS. Yes, brother. Mm-hmm. Anything in a pastel color is just like that low frequency white light. Pastels are designed to keep you calm. That's why schools are pastel colors. Pink, because you see pink is a more of an active color, like activated.
Europeans held the view that the horse and the African are no good to the economy unless they're broken. For the sake of an orderly future, notice I'm saying an orderly future. Special and particular attention must be paid to the female. Did y'all hear what I said? Special and particular attention must be paid to the female and the youngest offspring. Both must be crossbred. Crossbred to produce a variety of division and labor. Both must be taught to respond to a particular new language. Psychological and physical instruction of containment had to be created for both. You see, it goes this way. A wild horse, this is how the white man had this thing, and this is the late great Frederick Douglass put this together. A wild horse, or a wild or natural African in the mind of the slaveholder was dangerous. Even if they were captured, they were dangerous. For why was that? Because they still had the tendency to seek their customary freedom. And in the process of seeking their freedom, a horse in its natural state or an African in its natural state would kill that slaveholder. So therefore, to ensure their safety, both had to be broken. They felt that we can't rest. We dare not sleep, because they sleep while you're awake, and while you're awake, they're asleep. So these Africans are dangerous near the family house. And it's too much labor to watch them away from the house, and you can't get them to work in their natural state because they want to be free. That's natural, y'all, to want to be free. Something's really wrong when you got an African who does not want to be free. And yet I see so many of ours today who don't want to be free because they're comfortable on the plantation. They don't want to be free. So, how does this breaking take place? The whole purpose of breaking the African was for the sake of taking the body, and messing up the mind. Did y'all hear that? Break the will to resist. Break it. Now the breaking process, again, according to the slaveholder, was the same for the African as it was for the horse. Same process. In other words, man, this thing is so deep how they go. It actually says, you must keep your eye and thoughts on the female. Sisters, you got to understand how important your role is. Their agenda was keep your eye on the black female and on the offspring of the horse and the female. Pay little attention to the generation of the original breaking. In other words, those first few people that you broke, don't pay them no mind. Your goal is on future generations. Therefore, if you break the female mother, this is Willie Lynch's concept, she will break the offspring in its early years of development. Did y'all hear that? If you break the female mother, she will break her own offspring in the early years of its development until it's old enough to work. And when it is old enough to work, she will deliver her own offspring up to the slaveholder. Because her normal female protective tendencies will have been lost in the original breaking process. It goes on to say, for example, take the wild stud horse, a female horse, and an already infant horse, and compare the process with two captured African males in their natural state. Now check this out. This is going to make you a little angry. Two African males in their natural state, a pregnant African woman with her infant offspring. It goes on to say, breed the mare and the stud until you have a desired offspring. Then you can turn the stud to freedom until you need him again. Train the female horse where she will eat out of your hand. And she in turn will train her infant horse to eat out of your hand also. When it comes to breaking the uncivilized African, use the same process, but vary the degree and step up the pressure so as to do a complete reversal of mind. Check this what they did. Take the meanest and most restless African. Y'all see this in your head now. Take the meanest and most restless African, strip him of his clothes in front of the remaining male Africans and the females and the African infants. Tar and feather him. Tie each leg to a different horse, faced in opposite directions. Set him afire and beat both horses to pull him apart in front of the other Africans while they're looking at him. The next step is to take a bullwhip and beat the remaining African males to the point of death in front of the females. Y'all hear this? Don't kill them though, but put the fear of God in them. Now I wonder what God is talking about. Don't kill them because they can be, it says here, they can be useful for future breeding. The breaking process of the African woman. Take the African female, check this out now, and run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desires. White man. Test her in every way because she is the most important factor for good economics. All right. Y'all hear this? The black female is the most important factor for good economics. If she shows any sign sign of resistance in submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bullwhip on her to extract the last bit of resistance out of her. Take care not to kill her, for in doing so you spoil good economics. When she is in complete submission, she will train her own offspring in their early years to submit to you when they become of age. Understanding is the best thing. Therefore, we shall go deeper into this area of the subject matter concerning what we have produced here in this breaking process of the African female. It gets deep here, y'all, because it says, at this point, we have now reversed the relationship. Now, see what has happened. They have taken the strong black African male and totally destroyed his image while the women and children were watching. So now in the back of the woman's mind, black men, you can't protect us. Y'all follow this thing? You are not in the position to look after us. That's what's happening here. So in her, see, here it goes and say, in her natural state, she would have a strong dependency on that African man. I better say that again, since we are so unnaturalized now. In her natural state, the black woman would have a strong dependency on that black African man. Whew, man. And it goes on to say, and she would raise her offspring to be dependent like she is. So in the natural state of the African, the woman and the child was very dependent on the strong African man. Do y'all see what I'm saying? Yes. It goes on to say, nature provided for this type of balance. And then it goes on to notice what he says. He says, but we reversed nature. I need to go for a walk on that one, but I ain't. But we reversed nature by burning and pulling a civilized African apart and bullwhipping the others in front of them to the point of death. All in her presence. We reversed what is natural. We got rid of her natural tendency to depend upon her man. We got rid of that. And God knows they did a good job. Because it's something real sick when a black woman can say to a black man, I don't need you. Only thing I need you for is. And if you don't do that too well, I don't need you at all. Y'all know, don't y'all get deep on me. Y'all know we talk like that. No, we talk like that. Check out what it goes on to say. It says, by her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed, the ordeal causes her to move from her psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. In this frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reversed roles. Y'all hear this? What are the results? It goes on to say, and this is what you call social engineering, brothers and sisters. Here's what it says. What are the results? You've got the African woman out front and the African man behind and scared. This is a perfect situation for us to have sound sleep and economics. Before the breaking process, we had to be on alert and on guard at all times. Check this out now. Now we can sleep soundly, for out of frozen fear, his woman stands guard for us. He cannot get past her early slave molding process. He's a good tool, now ready to be tied to a horse at a tender age. And by the time the African boy reaches the age of 16, he is broken in and ready for a long life of sound and efficient work and the reproduction of a good unit labor force. Our brothers and sisters, it gets even deeper than that. It says, through breaking the uncivilized, savage Africans. By the way, I put the word Africans in here, because every time I say the word Africans, the word they had was niggers. Follow what I'm saying? So you can kind of hear it better if you put that in there. Through breaking the uncivilized, savage Africans by throwing the African female savage into a frozen psychological state of independence, and then I got this underscored, by killing off the protective male image. I gotta repeat that again. By killing off the protective male image, by killing off the protective male image, and by creating a submissive, dependent mind of the African male slave, we have created a cycle that will turn on its own axis. Unless, it actually says right in the document, unless a phenomenon occurs and reshifts the position of the male and female slaves. What would be that phenomenon? The truth of our African awareness rising up, the truth that they intentionally stole and hid. If we could ever go back and reclaim our story and put back in the psyche of our young people how great we as Africans are, that would be the phenomenon that would reverse their program. And it goes on to say, if over a period of time these Africans can get in touch with some substantial original historical base, good God Almighty, they could reverse the process. Again, they don't want us to get connected to our history. So the only way to keep you from getting connected to your history is to make up one and teach that one to you as though it literally existed. And once again, brothers and sisters, I hate to painfully put this on you, but I got to set you free. The first book they use is this one right here, the Bible. And many of you think that this is a history book, and there's not one event mentioned in the Bible that can be verified as an historical event. Not one. Not one person mentioned in the Bible can be verified as a person who ever walked this planet. Not one. From Adam all the way to John on the Isle of Patmos. All of them. I know I'm shadowing some of you, but I got to shadow you. I got to shadow you. Got to deactivate that. Thank you. Got to deactivate that Willie chip. Because as long as you're putting your faith in a concept that the white man gave you, your chip is running on nuclear power.
So you see, black people, they did not want you to know where you came from and what you were. Instead, they wanted to make you into who they wanted you to become. So you black women who walking around and you all over Facebook shaking your ass and showing these nasty pictures of yourself and this and that. And don't get me wrong, I love black women, and I'm looking at, you know, beautiful black women, and I love black women who are trying to do the right thing, who's trying to break away from the whole stigma of I got a big ass or I got a nice body, so that's going to get me what I want. That's going to get me the kind of job I want. That's going to get me the car I want. That's going to get me the clothes and jewels just because I got a nice ass. Come on, you are worth more than that. You are worth more than just selling yourself to, and some of these women are selling themselves for nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy to me when I see it. Yeah, I'm a man. Of course, you know, I look at him like, damn, I look good. But at the same time, I'm like, damn, that's fucked up. But if you wake up and see that no man is really gonna respect you for you doing those things, for you shaking your ass and putting pictures and stuff like that. Yeah, you want to put pictures like that and you say, well, I'm grown, I can do what I want. But at the same time, you want respect, and ain't no man gonna give you respect like that. It's going to create animosity within your relationship, and it's not going to have any kind of bearing on trust when it comes to you coming into a relationship with somebody who's seen those pictures, or with somebody who's seen you strip, or with somebody who you just had sex with on the first date. You're not going to get respect. A man is not going to respect that, and that's just the truth. So what is it going to do? It's going to create conflict within the relationship. So you get together with these guys and you sleep together and you have a baby, and now he's doubting if it's his. And then when you do have it, he don't want to be around to take care of it because whatever animosity he has against you, or because he's going through his own struggle. And what I try to tell a lot of white people when I talk to them is, because I have people ask me these questions like, what's going on in the black community? Like, because they really think that we just crazy and we just want to sell drugs. And I'm like, no. When you get arrested, let's say you grow up poor, you ain't have nothing. So you was forced to hustle, sell drugs, to help your mom out, to help your brothers and sisters out, to feed yourself. And you was forced to sell drugs. You ain't know nothing else. That's all you knew. Bam, I get this pack, I get on the corner, I can make some money. And it's survival of the fittest, that's what you had to do. Now, if you get arrested, that's game. That's game, because once you come out, and let's say you decide that, you know what, this whole jail thing ain't for me, I don't want to go back there, see what it's like, I don't want to sell drugs no more, I want to get a job, I want to be good. And then you go out and you decide to get one, and you can't because you have a criminal record now. And you feel like, well, maybe if I go to school, if I finish school, maybe that'll help me out. And if you go to high school and finish that, or you go to college and try to do that, yeah, going to college might help you out. You may be able to get a job. You know, you probably definitely will be, depending on what you get arrested for. Now, if you ain't finished high school and you're in your 20s, I mean, it's going to screw you over. You're probably not going to finish anything. You're probably going to have to go back and sell drugs to stay afloat, to stay alive. So on the one hand, you got, yeah, I want to be a good guy. I want to do the right thing, but I can't because I got to feed myself. I got to feed my baby and my family. So I got to sell drugs. I got to do the wrong thing to stay alive. And that's the thing they want you to have to choose from. No person should have to choose whether or not to do such a thing. But that's the way they want it to be. It's just that simple. The government gets what it pays for, period. If they wanted to fix the black community, they could have done it. These celebrities, if they wanted to fix the black community, they could have came in here and done something and help people out and help them out of these crazy situations that they're in. Yeah, of course, we have control over our own life. We do fucked up things to put us in the situations that we are in. But I mean, really, when you go back and you look at it, the whole thing has been one big setup. Yeah. I mean, come on. Common sense tells you that the black community is a direct result of slavery. Because while our ancestors was in bondage for over 400 years, the white race had that gap on us to flourish and succeed. And we just catching up. I mean, come on. The civil rights movement was only 50 years ago. It wasn't that long ago that this stuff was happening, where we couldn't even go into a white store. It's people still alive. So how do you think that the black race is just going to all of a sudden be doing well now, when only 50 years ago we couldn't even really deal with white people? So yeah, in closing this video, if you don't take nothing away from this whole money scheme thing, the one thing I really do want you to really get is to not sign up for this Obamacare shit. Like, I'm begging you, leave that shit alone. You're literally signing away your body and giving them control of your physical body. Remember, the whole straw man thing was to create a person that was like non-existent. This whole Obamacare thing, which is why it's so big and it's like everybody has to sign up for it. And remember, it's mandatory. It's because it's mandatory, just like how it was for the Social Security Act was mandatory. This is mandatory, and they have fines if you don't sign up for it. But it's mandatory because it gives them control of your physical body where they won't need no straw man. They have you, they own you with this Obamacare thing. So it's a Trojan horse. Again, it's the biggest one, and they use a black man to bring it in, because if a white man did it, black people will be reading that shit and looking into it and saying no. So you get a black man to do it, and he suckers in everybody, and that's what Obama has done. Obama is a puppet, as you have seen in this video. He is not no good guy that's going to help people out and this and that. I mean, y'all, you want to like the guy. I like the guy. You want to like him. He talks so good. He seems like a cool dude, but he's bullshit. I mean, it's just that simple. So if we don't educate ourselves, if we don't unite against this bullshit, if we don't leave this street hood shit, ghetto shit alone, we are going to fall. We'll never ever become again the glorious race that we once was. Please realize these celebrities are sellouts. These Jay-Z and these black people, they are sellouts, man. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand where they're coming from as far as doing what they got to do and sticking with this whole agenda to miseducate the black people, because y'all niggas ain't listening. Niggas ain't listening to this shit. It's not this not going to get that many views. A lot of people are not going to share this video because it's the truth. It's some real shit, and they're not going to want to pass it along for some kind of fear of embarrassment. I don't know what that whole thing is about. So yeah, this is not going to get seen by the masses of people. I'm not somebody famous, so anybody going to take this video seriously, because I'm not Tyrese. I'm not a famous person. So people are going to see this and like, oh, what this nigga know? He's nobody. He's not Jay-Z. He's not a famous person. So people are not going to take this seriously. But you got to understand, they are sellouts. They are selling you out. But they're doing it because they know if they told you this shit, yeah, they might get some people to listen. But as soon as the media starts saying shit about them, they're going to believe it. People are going to say, oh, well, maybe I should listen to this guy. Maybe the media is right and he is crazy. Or maybe he is on crack because he's trying to tell the truth. They know that you're not going to wake up. They know that you are not going to just all of a sudden have this eureka moment where you say, you know what, we're being tricked. So instead of risking everything that they have worked hard for and risking their fame and fortune, they continue to go with the plan and sell you out. And yeah, I kind of sort of can't blame them, since you try to tell people and help them out and wake them up, and they just spit in your face and call you crazy. So I mean, it's either that, stay rich and live a good life, or be killed by these people, and then the people who you're trying to help still end up dying and not getting the information because they don't want to read or they don't want to listen to you. So yeah, I don't expect a lot of people to take this message in or pass this message along. But if you do like the video, please comment, share the video. And this is not to cater to my ego in no way, so I can know that my message is getting out and people are hearing this message, and maybe I should make more videos, because at this point right now, this is my last video, until I feel like it's something else I really need to talk about. But I read a lot, and there's a lot in my head, and I had to get this out. I have actually written about 3 books that I haven't had published yet, that I will get published at some point. And when you start digging into this information, it sticks with you. It stays with you, and especially when it affects your people, and you want to get it out and give it out to the people. Now, I know it's a lot of things I probably missed in this video, and at some point it's going to make me want to do another video. So yeah, maybe that'll happen. But like I said, Obamacare, no, leave it alone. Read the plan. It's bullshit. And educate yourself. Share this video. Read books. Stay out of the whole I'm trying to be cool thing. Educate yourself. Become somebody. I mean, own a business. Go to school, be a doctor, and someday open your own hospital, open your own clinic, and help black people. Do whatever you can, because we're not going to win this thing with stupidity and brute force. All this, yeah, let's fight against the white people and this and that. It's not going to happen. They freaking got way more sophisticated weapons than us. And it's always going to be that one nigga that's going to sell out everybody just to, save his own ass or to be rich. It has happened before, and it'll happen again. So what's my plan? My plan is this: educate yourself. Educate yourself, because if that dollar crashes, they coming to get who they coming to get. And I have this little idea that I think when it does crash, they're going to take out as much black people or black leaders as possible. People like me and people that's trying to help black people out. They're going to use the whole scheme of going in there and helping people to actually detain people and send them to these FEMA camps or send them to Guantanamo or who the hell know where they're going to send them. And I think that we can beat this whole thing with just education and doing exactly what Tupac was trying to do, and that's create our own political party and waking our people up. And in turn, by putting out the truth, other people is going to see that truth. And guess what? When the truth is out there, these politicians can come and say all the bullshit they want, but the truth will be supported by the facts. They don't have any facts to support their bullshit. We will have the facts to support everything that we're saying. Therefore, anybody who's listening, black, white, Chinese, it don't matter what race they are, they're going to go with the truth. It's just that simple. And I want to thank everybody for watching this video. It was long again, but I hope you appreciate what I'm trying to do. I hope you respect what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to wake our people up, and I hope you see that. And thanks again for watching.